morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne. Disembodied Hands, Quindy. Honorary mentions, Justin and John. And, oh no, a Kiki crashed out in the hallway. Are you alive? Are you alive? You're alive. Yay. Hi, baby girl. Are you sulking? You're like, why isn't it walk time right away? Why do I have to wait through this boring part of the morning? Why? Why must I wait? That is the princess face right here. Why must I wait? Why? Why can it not be walk time all the time? Is that it? Is that what you're thinking? In that little head of yours? She's learning to communicate with us. She's like, bark! To remind us of things now. Like, walk to the door. I need to poop. Bark! Mama, it's after breakfast. I need my bully stick. Bark! Yeah, are you reminding us? You know you have absent-minded humans who get distracted by things, huh? Good girl. Yes, I'll leave the door open for you today. You just gotta be good, okay? Yeah. Papa Scruffins. Yeah, here we go. Scruffle Papas. Good girl. Yep, no, you cannot go exploring back there. I put the picture up just so to block her off from going under my desk or behind my desk. Hi. Hi, big dog. I can just reach back here and scratch. It's great. Yeah, this is the advantage of a big dog, huh? The disadvantage is that you cannot be a lap dog, no matter how much you want to be. Yeah, no matter how much you want to be. Good girl. Okay, Papa, go settle. Go settle, Keeks. No, you cannot eat my paint. No, you cannot eat anything. Sorry. Silly dog. Very silly dog. Come on, go settle. Waylaid by dragonflies. Wow. Cool. I got a picture, Kuroniko. I got a picture of my big blue bird finally. It was a bad picture, but one second. Here is the big blue bird. It's a California brush jay. It came to our bird feeder very briefly. I actually ordered some food that might be more to its liking, and so maybe it will come back. But that is the biggest, bluest bird in California. But yeah. So, it's really pretty. They're really, really pretty. But yeah, I finally got a picture. It like stopped right there and I'm like, it exists. I've proven that it exists. All right, cool. And I don't know if I showed you guys the birdlets taking baths in our new bird bath. See the little like white specks? That's the water like being thrown around as this little birdlet takes a bath. If he comes back, if he or she comes back. So yeah, so that's our new bird bath, by the way. Sweet. All right, so that's good. I think we're fine. Yeah, all good. I'm excited about my new Patreon PDF, which is my $2 PDF on color composition. I got to take pictures of a lot of David's collection and my collection of miniatures to use as examples. I just always wondered, Turgeon, I grew up in the Midwest and we would go out on the lake because my dad had a boat. And I always wondered if Anne McCaffrey got her dragon colors from dragonflies because the colors of the dragonflies on our lakes in Wisconsin are the colors of the dragons in Anne McCaffrey's Pern books. There are red, blue, bronze, and then the big ones are brown. I never saw a gold one, but I think that was maybe the one piece of fiction. But they are otherwise the dragonflies are all the colors, right? Wouldn't it, Valandar? If she took inspiration from that, I would explain it, wouldn't it? Because yeah, I noticed that as a kid because it was the first. Anne McCaffrey's books were the first. Do you not need to? No. Hold on. I have a doglet who is being disrupted. Doglet. No, disrupted doglet. She's found a bag and she wants to snoodle it and rip it up. Cool. But yeah, Anne McCaffrey is one of the first science fiction writers, so you probably would call her science fantasy these days, but it's probably the first sci-fi writer I read. No, you do not get this bag. It is not yours. It's going over here. Kiki, go and quit being a disruption or I'm going to exile you. Yeah, you've got two choices. You can stop being a disruption or you can be exiled. Yep. Hello, good morning, Gibson. But yeah, I always wondered that about Anne McCaffrey. Because when I was a kid, I was just like, hey, these dragonflies are the same colors of Anne McCaffrey dragons. What gives? Yeah, I came to Madeleine L'Engle much later. Much later. Anne McCaffrey was my first one. The Harper Hall trilogy actually was first, and then the Dragon Rise of Pern. Kiki, all right. Exiled. Oh, she knows what it means too. Good girl, but you weren't being good. Good girl. I gotta work. Yep. Somebody decided she was gonna paw at the edge of my rug right here, and I'm just like, okay, now we are just being disruptive. Yep. Exiled. And the minute I say the word, or David says the word, she knows. She knows. It's like, you have the privilege of being here as long as you are well behaved. All right, so... Oh, a lot of science fiction still pulls from traditional folklore and stuff, I'm sure. Let's see here. Because it's where we come from, right? Oh, rain! June rain? In California? Wow, I'm impressed. That's awesome. Now I'm going to sit and listen to it. Actually, we're going to repaint his eyes. Even though I prefer to do the Mouslings with mousy brown eyes, I decided that this one is so big and chibi-ish that I want to do regular eyes on him, so human type eyes. So I am going to do that today. We'll change it up. And then we'll work more on the leather, which I'm not happy with the brown color, so I'm going to work on setting that up and then glazing it in a different way. Just cuz. But yeah, so I'm going to do, but because his eyes are so large, I need to definitely use a off color for them. I think I want to use, I was searching through my grays over here. I mean, Cairnstone's an okay color for it. Which I seem to have, oh, there it is. Cairnstone's not bad. Maybe with a little bit of more gray in it. Usually I would use weathered stone, but I don't think I've got weathered stone in my box over here. But I do have wolf gray. So... Oh, that's funny, Gibson. Yeah, no, ancient Russian and Eastern European folk. Isn't she Polish? I don't remember if Baba Yaga is Russian or Polish. Probably, as legends probably spans, right? It's not like borders like interrupt folklore, right? It all just jumps all over the place. But yeah. All right, so we're going to grab just a drop of Wolf Gray, which is a gray, definitely too, normally would be too dark for eyes. However, these eyes are in shadow, so we can take them a stage darker. Yeah. Yeah, Slavic in general. I mean, it's like I said, it's like borders don't interrupt it. I mean, the story that I based my books on, my first two books, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, is actually a retelling, a Norwegian retelling of the Cupid and Psyche myth from Greece. So it all got everywhere. Humans traveled the world even then. I'm always so interested in the fact that humans were like everywhere, like all over the place, and you can find stuff from cultures thousands of miles away in the homelands of other cultures, and it's just really neat. It's really neat. I just imagine those ancient people who like had no clue, like they were still out there trying to like roam around the world, even though they didn't have half the tools we did, or even a tenth of the tools we did to do so. Yeah, she has a lot in common with other benevolent, malevolent female icons. Alright, so when I mix that wolf gray and the Cairn stone, I get a much warmer yellowy gray, which is perfect for eyes in shadow. So eyes are going to change color depending, like, you know, you can use a darker yellowy gray for eyeballs that are in shadow. Like, you shouldn't use, like, full strength. Yeah, I made it do that, Crowley. Like, we did a whole stream on that one. I don't remember. You might not have been here for that one. But I put the red purposefully on the nose, lip, ears, and tail because I wanted to use the red of the hat band. I talk about this, actually. I mentioned this, reference this model in my new PDF. So if you guys are patrons at the $2 or higher level, you will see that PDF hit you later today. I just have to do a little bit of editing to it. Just make sure I've got all my points lined up like happy little ducks in a row. But yeah, I do reference this model, and it's one of the ways that you can repeat colors around the model is you don't have to use red anywhere else, like as the main color. You can also use it as a shadow for a different color, and that's what we did with the skin tones, which also added a lot of depth and coolness to the skin tones. Much more interesting looking, and so that works, right? It works to move the eye around the model. So when I talk in that PDF about rule number 2, which is repeat colors around the model, that you can do that kind of sneaky thing as well. Hey, Leverage. Right. It looks better because it's not as monochrome, right? Although now that I've added the red to these skin tones, you could probably go back to the blue and it would still be happy. Your would still be, like, your brain would still be happier with the model because you got the red elsewhere. So I don't need it up there anymore, and the blue might look better now at this point. I just needed more of a reddish hue down here. So as it is, we're sticking with it. It still satisfies with the other main point of color theory, which is put your warmest colors and your lightest colors up close to the face of the model if they can't be on the face directly. So the white shirt and the red hat band, like between them, encircle the face and pull your eyes up here. And then the very light muzzle and the warmth of the skin also pull your eyes up here. But I'm sick of his eyes just reading as dark because the brown eyes just disappear under that hat. So I'm going to do it normally, and we'll probably even do colored irises because we can. I'm going to thin this just a little bit more. Oh, I love this rain. Surprise rain. Happy birthday to me. I count everything in June as my birthday. Like, June is just generally one of my favorite months. Even in Texas when it was ridiculously hot. But it still usually wasn't as hot as it is in, like, August, September, so. I just love this rain. I'm like, yay. Thanks, California. The plants are happy, too. Alright, so we're going to paint over these little eyeballs. And that's going to help them actually show up. Because I want them to be there, right? So there, see, now it's gonna show up now. That eye white shows up even in the shadow under the hat. You can see that the model has eyes, and that's what was bothering me. Is it just looked like I hadn't painted them because you couldn't see them. So now we're gonna go back and get the other one, and they're big enough that we can definitely do a colored iris in these, which is something I don't normally do. So we'll do something different, which I like. Always like to do things differently. Just in case you guys think I'm going to run out of tricks and tips anytime in the future after 5 years. Oh, I lost my line around the bottom, so I'll need to replace that. We'll just grab some walnut. And I want to make his eyes a little squintier too, because he's like snarling, so they should be. They're open a bit more than makes sense. So I'm just going to narrow them a little bit using the walnut brown. There. Got a little bit too many colors out here right now. There we go. I'm trying to kind of clean up my area a little bit here. Now we need our water. Going to do a 2-to-1 with the walnut. It's going to still give us a pretty solid coverage. I do like how this guy's turning out now. Like, I'm working on it, but like, I don't like that necessarily like the brown up here. I'll have to think about it. Like, we'll keep going with it, but I'm probably going to cool it off with some blue. Probably some teal, since it's kind of a reddish brown. I really feel like I want it to go darker than this. And that's why I did that glaze. You can see where I did the walnut glaze in here. But I feel like I want it to cool off and go darker. And another way to repeat colors around the model would be to use this blue to do some shading on the hat and to glaze it. It'll ally them. Even if it's not immediately evident, even if you need to look for it, using touches of it will work. And you guys will see this actually on a model. One of the models I used in the PDF for my $2 tier today that'll come out. I was referencing a Jennifer Haley model, and it was a model she painted for me a long time ago. And but she's using, like, she's got 2 accent colors on the model, which normally would be dicey, but one of them is orange and one of them is teal, and the teal you at first think isn't repeated around the model until you look really close at the weapon and you realize that she used the teal in the NMM on the weapon. So sometimes the repeating of colors around the model to make the model look cohesive is very subtle. A really good painter is going to know how to sneak those things in. So don't always look for obvious. We do a lot of obvious on this. Like if I'd had any hilt showing here, I would have made it red, right? I would have, like, if there were 2 daggers in his hands or 2 swords, and the paw wasn't covering all of them, or if I would have had like a gemstone on here, I would totally have repeated the red around the figure and gone obvious. But because I couldn't, I had to get more inventive if I wanted that red. You can always find a way. So I'm just going to bring up, see that angle, just making him more of an angry eye, kind of, teardropping it instead of leaving it just as an almond shape. I'm going to do the same on the other side. You can absolutely do this kind of paint plastic surgery on eyes like this that are very neutral, but when the rest of the face is angry, it makes sense to narrow them and make them angrier eyes. And just a little bit, just a tiny bit, makes him much more frowny. He's got those heavy brows anyway, so I can bring some fur down if I want to, but mostly I just need that shape. There, grr, grimace, grr. Yeah, grr, Mousling, grr. There we go. There we go. Ferocious, he's ferocious. So if we're going to do colored irises, we're actually going to start out the same way we would do eyes any other way, which is we're going to use our walnut. We're going to come in and we're going to create a circle around, which is meant to be both iris and pupil. But there the similarity ends. From there we will try to do colored iris. And we'll see. These eyes should be big enough, but they're also in cover, so I don't know how much I really want to do. We'll see. Mostly I'm doing it because I haven't done it in a long time. So we're going to actually bring in a dot and place the dot on both sides. And then we're going to check our placement. We've got really big eyes here, so we just want to make sure that our eyes are looking in the same direction. And then we're going to just round out that area. So I'm going to come in from the side, and I'm going to make it bigger and rounder. I've still got my whites color on purpose so that I can touch it up. And if he's really squinting, then the pupil and iris are going to be touching both the top and the bottom of the eye. So make that connection. Because only when our eyes are wide open does our iris not touch the lower lid. And he's squinting, definitely. So we need to make that, everything in the expression line up, or it's going to look weird. And I want to make these, the iris and pupil round as I can. All right. That's good. I'm probably going to give him really bright blue eyes, and you're only really going to see it a little bit at the bottom of the eye. Because again, the top's in shadow. Always turn the model so you can get a comfortable angle. A little bit more toward the inside on this one. You can almost change the direction of the way the eye is looking by moving, just adding a little bit to the iris one way or another. Or you can shrink the eye like here. I'm going to shrink it a little bit from the outside edge. I want him to be looking more, well, this is actually a pretty good pose, but if you want him to look more one way or the other, shrink the eye. This is pretty good because his eyes are, now when you've got a model like this too, that's big, if the eyes are bulging out, it can be very hard to get him right. So if you turn the model and it looks like he's looking in an appropriate direction, even though he might look a little bit wonky from face on, you might want to keep it. He's obviously trying to look both places at once. He's brandishing his gun in one direction and his sword in the other direction. All right, so now I think I'm going to leave this as is. We'll touch it up a little bit as we get further in. So now we want to grab pure white because we're going to be putting color over the top of it. I could use the Cairn Stone here, but it would muddy the color when I glazed it over the top. So if you're going to do a colored iris, you want to do pure white. And what we're going to do is we're going to put essentially a big white dot in the middle of what we've got here. And we're going to leave a little bit of this dark around the outside. He's very grumpy. Very, very grumpy. Agreed, Quindy. Today, after I edit and post my PDF, today is writing day. It's all work on the book day today. Which is exciting. I love my writing days. And see how much I can get through. I'm so close to the end. But I still have at least one more chapter to completely rewrite from scratch. Maybe two. And then a little chapter at the end, kind of like a wrap-up chapter, that I need to write. But then we get to what Anne calls the fun part, which is my book is done, and now I'm just making it better. That's the fun part for me. Because only once the whole book is out there can you really, I think, effectively edit. You can do correcting sentences and increasing flow and things like that. You can do purely mechanical editing before your book is done. But when it comes to actually fine-tuning the story, you cannot. I don't think you can do it before you have a completed book. You can make small steps in that direction, but you won't be able to quite do as well as if you had it all. Yeah, he is a good stress reliever. Grumpy Mouse. You know, I think I'm going to do one more drop of water, and if it gets too thin, I can always add just a little bit of white back into it. But I want it to flow pretty well here. And 2-to-1 pure white is still pretty heavy. I might have to do a couple of different applications. So yeah, it's a fine line between getting your paint thin enough that it'll come off the brush and still having it cover well for a tiny little application like this. Ah, now the breeze is coming through my window and I can smell the rain, even though the rain is mostly blown through, but I can smell the wet plant life. I think it's supposed to like totally blow over by the time it's Kiki walking time. All right. So this is going to look weird for a bit until we get it rounded out and colored over. Since the center of the eye is going to look lighter than the whites of the eye. But that won't last. So our goal here is to bring the white down and still leave a really thin black line around it. At this point, the rain smell is, since the rain has kind of gone through, is just wet stuff. Wet outside. I think, but... Yeah, I think of the ozone, I think I read once that it was ozone, but I don't know, Pendrake. You would have to look that one up. Oh! It's trying to make me a liar. Little raindrops on the roof. All right, now we're fill in the other one. Yeah, the minute moisture hits like mold and stuff, it does activate it, right? And when you've got moisture in the air, it carries scents better. Or maybe it just makes your nose better at smelling scents. I'm not sure. Everything smells more. All right. Now he looks like he's going to have glowing eyes. And he is in a moment. Kind of. All right. So I want to make sure I make these as pretty strong white. Because we're going to put a blue over the top. Alrighty. It's like the fish in water joke, Kerniko. You have so much of it, just like Pendrake says. You have so much of it that you don't even recognize that it has a smell anymore. I'm going to actually mix some. I don't want to go too bright here, and I don't want to use void blue because it's muted, and I've got a small area. I think I'm going to mix my tropical and my cyan a little bit. Probably just mostly tropical with a bit of cyan to darken it and to give it more vibrancy. Because if I just use tropical, it's going to be so pale, it's not really going to look like a color when I get done. So I'm going to just grab a few drops of tropical blue. Oh, now I've got serious rain. It's back. I thought it was gone, but it's back. Okay, so the amount of cyan I'm using next to my tropical, you can see that little dab. I just want enough to make it a little bit more vibrant, but still to keep that warm, lighter color. And then I'm going to thin it down. Where is my... There. Naturally damp and smelly. Cow, Kerniko. I think I had just as much, maybe even more rain when I was in Ireland than I did when I was in Scotland. Except the Irish rain was a little bit just come and goer, I guess. Like the Scottish overcast was like, I am here for serious, and the Irish overcast was like, wee, a rainbow! Oh, I'm back! Oh, bye! Yeah, that was like that. All right, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna kind of test it on my palette. Yeah, it's pretty thin when I pull it apart, so I'm gonna say that's gonna be okay. And I'm gonna try it on his eyeballs. I spent about a week in Scotland and about a week in Ireland. Years ago, though. Yeah, this is a good blue. So you see, though, it's really hard to make the color show up, right? It's more vibrant in person than it is on screen for sure. I wonder if I can make it show up a little bit better if I put this in. Yeah, you can. All right, so you can see the blue. It's a lighter blue, but it's there. I could use a clear blue, but that would make it very bright. And here, because we've thinned our blue, we don't have to worry about eclipsing that dark line. Like, even if we paint over it, it's just going to make it dark blue. Now we're going to go back to our walnut, and we're going to put in the pupil. And essentially, we've got, yeah, there we go, glowy blue eyes for him. We're making concentric circles. But when it comes to the pupil, err toward the top of the eye a bit, because again, he's kind of squinting. So more of the pupil will be closer to the top of the eye than it is lower down. I'm much happier to give him. Yeah, you can even see those eyes. They're so light. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's a cool effect, guys. Let's face it, that's a cool effect. He's for serious for sure. I like it. So we're putting that in the center. And we want to keep a little bit of blue around it. Just like that. In reality, his pupils are probably going to be a bit wider, which I can do toward the top of the eye because it's in shadow. And then I can do more of a highlight. Yeah, I like that. I had a friend who went to college in Iowa, and he called it the hell of corn. He was in the hell of corn. Which is funny, because he's from the Midwest anyway, but he's from, like, the northern Midwest. His family, I think he grew up in Minnesota. There was just too much corn for him. All right, I'm going to pop a little bit of highlight down here in the bottom of the eye. The very bottom of the iris, and it's a very pale blue, but it's going to read more as white. Just because if the eye is going to catch a catch light, it's not going to be at the top of the eye because you've got that shadow. So instead, we're highlighting the bottom of the iris want to make sure that I still have it looking cool. And that looks cool. And we still got it darker at the top of the eye, which I like. If we want at this point, we could bring in a little bit, mix some Cairnstone with, of our Cairnstone mix with our pure white. And we could bring in a slightly brighter highlight. What we'll do is we'll do right around the eye at the lower part. Just again to show that maybe there's some light reflecting up under the brim. That's not going to hit the top of the eye at all. It's going to hit down here. So we're going to hit the part of the white that's down low. And again, this is where you can eclipse that edge around your eyes, so you got to be careful. And what this can do is it can bring you can see the eye a little bit better then. And you're bringing in another dimension to your white, which otherwise is pretty blah. There we go. There we go. He's got eyes now. Yeah, people don't understand how humid the Midwest is. Like, it is hot and it is humid. I just remember, like, Gen Cons where when you walked outside, it was like walking into bath water. Like, it was just like, it was just that humid at, like, 8 at night. That was a little low down on that highlight, so I'm going to actually eclipse that a little bit. There. So I don't really need it on the inside, the interior of the eyes. I really need it there. There. So I think that looks great. So that now we have like his keen-eyed look there. And we can see that he has eyes, and they're evident from this angle, and they're evident from that angle. There. All right. So I think he looks good there. Grr, he says, grr. All right. Onward. Onward and hatward. I think I want to, before I finish out the brim, because I know what I'm doing on the brim, I think I want to do the leather thingy across this way. Yeah, he needed something. It was just so evident that he needed something. I was just... I had to ruminate on how I wanted to do it. Oh, I need to go a little more narrow. See if this works this way. You will lose a little bit of this if you do like I'm doing it pretty fast, and then my brush strokes are varying heaviness. It's best if you can keep your brush stroke the same weight when you do this technique. Yeah, when I was at Write Club this weekend, I was chatting with a girl who, she grew up in this area, but then she recently spent a couple of years working in Hawaii. And she was bemoaning the humidity, and I'm like, oh, but you know, didn't your hair do great? And she's like, she stopped, and she's like, yeah, my hair was great, because she has really fine hair like I do, and everybody else is like, oh my god, the humidity in my hair. And those of us with really fine hair that dries out at the, you know, slightest hint of heat are like, oh god, I love my hair in Hawaii. So we'll see how this goes. Now I want to do a little bit more. I think I want to emphasize a few of these. I want to also do a glaze. Well, I started off using black and brown for this, so I guess I'm going to keep using black and brown because that way, if I change it, I can change it all consistently. So I'm going to grab some of that black and brown and build it into a glaze. Yeah, relatively speaking, DFW is dry. Like, we always forget it there because it actually used to be drier. Like, when I first moved to Texas, it was much more like dry heat. And then by the time I left, it felt like it had gotten more humid. It still was no Houston or anything. It's just, or it's not Midwest, but it is just a little more humid than I remember it being when I first moved there. And my black and brown is very cloggy. Yeah. My hair just really is fine and dries out really easily. It's very fragile hair. It's always been fragile hair. So I love Hawaii because I never have a bad hair day when I'm in Hawaii. Like, my hair hydrates and then it gets like really full and shiny. It loves it. It's like, we want to live here year round. It's okay out here in California. That was way too much black and brown. Way too much, but my bottle lost control of itself, so. I am looking forward to Hawaii in October. It's so nice to be back in Honolulu. The last time I was there, I didn't have a David. Although I think I was still texting to him at that point. Mm-hmm. That's still 50% humidity, Gibson. Still humidity. Still humidity, right? Do a glaze. Remember, when you glaze, you want to pull off any extra fluid off the surface before it dries. My glaze looks like this. It's actually a pretty heavy glaze, all things considered. Part of that is just because black and brown has incredibly good coverage, and so it's going to fight you if you try to thin it to a transparent level. It's going to want to stick around. What is it here? We just got rain, so it's probably... Oh, yep. Light rain is going on right now, still, as we speak. Yeah, it's still supposed to be a chance of rain after right around the time of Kiki's walk. We've got a nice belt of weather going through. And we have a bit of wind. It's making it feel cool. I'll have to actually wear a coat. I haven't worn a jacket recently on my walks. I'm going to pop another glaze over that. Then I'm going to do it again. So are y'all working on entries for ReaperCon? Because you know I'm back this year, so I'm totally pestering all of you. You have just short of 3 entire months to paint a model. It's all I ask. 1 model to enter into ReaperCon. Just 1. Please, don't disappoint your Anne this way. There, that's all the guilt trip you get. Well, actually, that's a lie. I'll totally guilt trip you every month, but Yeah, total guilt trip there. We'll guilt again. But yeah, I'm coming back to ReaperCon. I expect to get to see a good turnout of awesome painted things from all y'all. Why don't you paint something? I don't care what you paint. You can paint something very simple, very small. In fact, simple and small, you might find to be easier. Yep. If you don't think about it and put it on your schedule, you will keep procrastinating. Procrastination is not something you do actively. Procrastination is something you do passively as a default. In order to stop procrastinating, you must take the thing out and make a commitment to work on it. But it's much easier to just kind of ignore it and then go, oops, at the end. That is why I am saying something now. What? Gloom and Grave not getting right done? No, Gibson, you wouldn't. Because here's the dealio. Taking something simple means that you get to concentrate on the things fewer things, essentially. It doesn't mean you phone it in. And if you tell yourself that a simple model means phoning it in, you've never painted a simple model to the top of your game. Complicated models give you all sorts of opportunities to fail at them. Whereas simple models make you just buckle down and do an excellent job on what there is to paint. So if you are really wanting to up your game, giving yourself fewer things to worry about is actually a very valid tactic. Uh-oh, that's not good. That's not good. I wonder why they decided not to. I bet, you know what? I bet the paint department just can't handle the load, guys. Like, I can't believe they weren't selling. Although they're no way are they selling as fast or as hard as Learn to Paint kits. Because the Learn to Paint kit is really like the king, the queen, the thing. I think I'm going to start up here at the top. Oh yeah, no question, Kerniko. Well, except that, a lighthouse is easy. It's just one pay and done. The problem with fast palettes is you have to keep producing them. But there is a limit, like, as to what the paint department can do, right? And the more paint sets you have, the more difficult it is for the paint department to keep up. I feel like that, and it's true for some people, but I feel like that's a fallacy for me. Like the whole it's never done thing, that creative myth. It's done. You know when it's done because you know when you are done putting work into it, and it's done. It's done. Just say it's done, put it on a shelf, and move on. I feel like, for me, I just have never, like, okay, maybe I had that problem once upon a time because I was like, it was kind of the thing. Oh, it's never done. It's only abandoned, But that really, it kind of hamstrings you. That thought, like, no, I want it to be done. I want it off of my brain. I want to not have to worry about it or think of it as undone. Like, I fight against that particular mindset. I really feel like it's more of a Achilles heel than anything. I feel like the best thing you can do is to assign it to doneness, because it's not like done is like an arbitrary is a random thing that happens. Done is when you decide it is. And when you yeah, but if it's a choice between having a paint in a fast palette and not having it at all in Aura, then I'm kind of sad. Done doesn't mean perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Exactly. It's done when you decide you have put all the work into it that you want to put into it. Yeah, that's true. The high rollers are more challenging than you'd think. And they're fun. Yeah. Perfect is the enemy of done. And it's like, and it's a non-existent thing. It's just, because I also used to be a perfectionist. Until I realized that the only thing being a perfectionist was doing for me was keeping me from being happy. With my work, with this model. Oh, hey, the rain is back. So now the leather's starting to look, you see it took a few repeats here to get to the point where it's good. Yeah, me too, Agent. Like, that's actually... Yep. Yeah, because Wapple, as a working artist, knows the difference, right? Warshadow? Like, working artists especially know the difference. Like, as far as it's your income. Oh man, the rain. Dang. I'm happy. I love this noise. I want to open up the window. Hold on. Need to open up the window more so I can smell the rain more. And hear it. Can hear it on the trees. I love it. But yeah, like, because often what the perfectionist mindset does for you, because you have to ask yourself when you do it, you're like, what is this actually doing for me? Like, what feedback is it giving me that makes me wants me to seek perfect? And we seek perfect because we fear our work not being good enough. So if our mind says, oh, well, if I can just make it perfect, nobody can complain about anything on it. And this is totally not true. People will take your perfect paint job, even if it is dang near perfect, and they will find something to bitch about. They will not like the color, the perfect color that you chose. They will not like your perfect, freehand. They will think that it detracts from the model. They will not like your fill-in X-perfect thing here. So, question that premise. Question that premise when you find yourself reaching for perfect. Ask yourself, what is my brain really trying to protect me from here? Like, why is perfect so important to me? And for me, it definitely was, if I make it perfect, nobody else can like diss it, right? I don't have to deal with criticism if I can make it perfect. Now I just like take the criticism, look at the person, shrug, and say, yeah, that's what I was aiming for. Sorry you don't like it. Yeah, Wapple's a pro. Some of us need that though. Like Wapple is a very futuristic thinker, like that way. That's the kind of thing that does for you. Where you can envision how you want the mini to look. And that's what gets you excited about it, and that's what powers you through, right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Gibson. Right. So you know what is reaching for. But you just got to remember that everybody thinks they're an imposter. And also, if you think you're an imposter, you're not an imposter. Hello? Imposters are intentionally trying to be something they're not.
You're just afraid that you're not something you want to be. And really, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You paint. You paint as well as you can. You're continually learning. And any human being who is worth anything on this earth understands, sympathizes, and admires that. Nobody needs to be perfect. We don't like perfect people. Why do you want to be one? Yeah, you should. You should watch the vids. Well, it's because we all have so much to do, right? There are people I would love to watch on stream a lot, Hyper Bunny, but I know also that my brain can only focus on one thing or another. I can't really have background noise, or I'll start paying more attention to the background noise than I am to what I'm working on. The only difference is I could probably sit and knit, and watch James. But usually at that point, I have very little time. Usually I'm doing something else at that point. Right, exactly, Kerniko. Yeah, it kept you from painting for a year. Exactly, Roger. Yeah. Yeah. But let's just think about this for a bit. Like, when you were a kid, did you have the little Miss Perfect or little Mr. Perfect kid in your class? Like, the little kid that could do no wrong, the teacher's pet. Nobody liked that kid. Nobody likes that as an adult. The brown noser, the kiss upper, the can do no wronger. We don't like those people. And even the people who are just darn good at what they do, don't we just kind of like, dang you? Yeah, exactly, Gibson, exactly. No, you have to. I think I was that kid. And nobody liked you. No, we like you, Hyper. No, I'm just, but you know what I mean, though? It's like we want to hold perfect up as a shield. But yeah, I get it, Gibson. It's just something you had to recognize to move past it, right? But I think it's something that is very rife in the mini painting. That it's especially because there are people out there pushing that myth. That, it's some of this artist joke stuff is kind of toxic when you get down to it. Like the whole, it's not finished, just abandoned, that kind of thing. It's funny, but, some people are going to run with that idea. And it's not really a good idea. So we've got some more texture going on here. I need to... That's because this used to be me, Gibson. I'm savage because, I believe so strongly that people lose out to this perfect thing. That it actually handicaps you. That it keeps you from loving your hobby. That it puts too much pressure on you, too much stress, too much strain, when none of us need that. None of us need that. So that's why I'm passionate. I only get passionate when I perceive something in the hobby that's hurting people. And I'm like, no, dang it, I'm going to speak out against this. Everybody loves Savage Ann. Right, Phil Robertson. Well, that's the art speak, right? I went to art school. I can art BS with the best of them, and I have heard all the art BS. Yeah, it's really just futzing with it, Agent Marvel. It's futzing. Yeah, we need Luca. Drop some F-bombs. Yeah, where's our Luca summoning? It's not working today. Luca would enjoy Savage Ann. He's streaming. He's just not hanging out with us. Right. He's got work to do. Yeah, I saw him streaming. Actually, he was up on he was on our channel before I came on, so I know that he's over there hanging out. Yeah, see, Luca actually is one that I would go and hang out on his streams too. Somebody's got to sit there to roll their eyes at his innuendos. So I'm just putting in a couple extra little threads, and I'm futzing with this because I want it to look good. And sometimes with leather, you just futz until you get what the effect you want. But I will come up and I'm going to define a little bit more up here. There comes a point if you see a pattern that you like that you should just like try to define that pattern. Oh, good, Quindy. Yeah, I saw he was painting a vehicle. Phil Collins is a mini painter. Did you know that? Or he's into minis. For one of the, I forget, it was years ago, but for one of the World Expos, I think, when it was held in, he lives over in one of the, I think, Scandinavian countries now. He actually came out and did a performance. And that's how I found out that he really loves miniatures. I don't know if I think he's into historicals, but I don't remember. But I thought that was pretty darn cool. Yeah, Phil Collins. I find it significant that he's vibing to Phil Collins and not Genesis. Like, everybody's got their preference, right? Yep. Stranger Things at least has like a direct link to mini painting, right? But 80s pop, not so much. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna glaze that down. This part's turning out a little bit better. There comes a point I think where you can overwork this technique. It's not bad. It's just hard to do on the crown of a hat. I'm going to start working on this part. Oh. Actually, there's kind of a texture here. Maybe I'll try to isolate that texture and then do my streakies. You could also just freehand this sucker, but it won't look quite so random and cool. So I'm going to actually bring these guys in here. There were just some irregularities in the hat, the molding of the hat that I chose to embrace as a leather inspiration. So I'm just popping those along. Okay. I can't keep track of famous people either, but famous people from the 80s, since I grew up then, I'm a little bit better at. This is just the squiggle technique. We're going to call it the squiggle technique. Very squiggly. Starting to come together there. You can see the kind of resemblance. kind of had some mad respect for Phil Collins as a kid because, like, I think it was Peter Cetera who was the lead singer of Genesis first. Or was it Peter Gabriel? It's like one of those Peters was the actual lead singer of Genesis. And then he decided to leave to do a solo career, and Phil Collins was the drummer. But he was the one who, like, wanted to be the lead singer, which was a total different, you know, the drummer's always the one you make fun of in a band. But he did it, and he made it work, and, like, they stayed, like, super popular. So I always had kind of a mad respect for Phil Collins. Peter Gabriel, yeah. And I love Peter Gabriel, too. Actually, I think Peter Gabriel did do a lot better in his solo career, so it was definitely the thing. The thing that like, I think it was the right thing for him. And then he became, like, he actually started, like, producing, like, actually bringing overseas artists into the U.S. But yeah, so I feel like that worked out for both. Like, I feel like Phil Collins was a great great lead singer for Genesis, and I feel like Peter Gabriel definitely had a great solo career, so before he turned his eyes to more corporate undertakings, more business type stuff. No, but he did do a couple of, at least one movie soundtrack. And a really good one at that. So we've got lots of squigglies. Tons of little squigglies. Let us do some glazing over these squigglies. It's actually just leather texture. You're not, like, really trying to make cracks. You're building it up, glazing over it, building it up, glazing over it until you build up what we have on the other side, which is much more of a natural looking leather, weathered leather. But to get there, you have to do lots of squiggles. And then glazing, and then more squiggles, and then some glazing. Yeah, Crowley, see. We're doing this here. We're doing a technique that's meant for much bigger models on a much smaller model. We're doing this. And you can see it. This is why I keep half done. Oh, wait. I have to play to the crowd because you all love to see dude. Dude. This is why I keep half done class models. Because you have to be able to see the stuff. Enough to remind you how it works. Yep. Yeah, he mentioned that he was doing, he was heading to do leather. So this, I think, is getting to be a fairly standard technique in Europe for leather. And now it will ooze over here and become a leather thing over here too. And I definitely want it to be heavier near the brim. And just like I mentioned when I was doing the hat, hat proper, doing thinner lines consistently at this scale anyway can help. Yeah, don't do this on 28s though. Bigger models. Bigger models. 28s, it probably won't look that great. Unless you can make commensurately tinier lines. It'll be out of scale for very small models. But if you're working... It's really made for busts, but if you're working on a bigger model, like an ogre or something, or like, you know, something a little bit bigger, but still 28 mil, a bigger monster type thing, a giant, you could do it. Just stippling along the upper edge of this tear in the hat. You know, technically, he's at least double a normal Mousling, so I'm guessing 54. Like a normal Mousling being 28 and being about half his height. His actual measurement would be different. But as far as actual scale, and he's kind of chibi scale if you come down to it. So from his little feetsies to the top of his little fictional head, not his hat, he's about a 30... Yeah, he's about 30 mil... 32 mil from the bottom of his foot to the top of his head, but he's definitely obviously much larger in scale. So if I compare him to my tiny little Mousling assassin and thief that I have, he's double their size, which is why I would call him a 54 millimeter. It isn't, you would have to make it'd be really hard on 28, Gibson. You just don't have a lot of room. You have to be able to make a lot of different squiggles. Maybe? But yeah, you gotta have, like, you don't need a single hairbrush. You just need a really good tip like I've got. But even here, like, you've got to get it really thin. And the problem with working with really thin is that you got to keep your paint pretty thin. And that means, you know, like, you won't get a lot of, like, coverage necessarily. It might be really... I don't know. You probably could make it work somehow, but, I mean, good luck. To me, this is definitely a larger model kind of thing. Yeah, you could do it on, like, a Storm Giant if they had, like, a big piece of leather, like a shoulder pad, or a Fire Giant. Actually, some of the Fire Giants have big, like, shoulder pads that you, instead of painting them as metal, you could paint them as, like, boiled leather stretched over metal. I've done that, and it would work really well on that. But definitely bigger models, I would say. That's why I'm doing it on this Mousling, and you won't see me do it on any normal model, because it's just, like, not... Yeah, you could probably do it with a white ink, as long as the white ink is not a dye. It's a permanent white ink. But it has to be able to take glazes without coming up. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like painting bigger models, is because you can use techniques like this to get yourself some really neat effects. There are definitely texture techniques that you cannot Or you can try, but you will not get like the nicest effect using them on a very small model, on a 28. Yeah, there's enough area for it to work on this hat barely. Right, and this is a big hat. Yeah, because, and the reason it won't look right is because if you look at a leather jacket on somebody who's far enough away to be the size of a 28 or 32 millimeter figure, you're not going to see any of it. You'll see the shine. You'll see the shine of the leather. And you can suggest with stippling a little bit of the texture on leather on a 28, but you got to remember scale. Otherwise, it tends to look fake. And if you like that, if you want to do cartoony and try to look fake, you can, but it just works better the bigger you get. Like, I always use that kind of as my in-scale thing. I mean, if our models weren't artificially small, we wouldn't need to, like, put extra pop on highlights and shadows to make details stand out, right? And even that is making it look more artificial. So, all right, let's glaze this. So, it is a cool technique, and there are models that you could use it on in 28. Like I said, some of the giants would actually be good subjects. So it's not a useless technique in our Reaper bailiwick, but it's definitely, I think, it would be a challenge. You would have to have, you know what, the one thing you could probably do it on, and you'd have to really, really take it fine. But in a long leather duster, maybe. But even then, you'd have to simplify it. And simplifying this is very difficult. Like, you almost want to just... Yeah, I don't know how I'd do it. I know I'd try to do it, but I probably wouldn't do it. Because I'd want to do it something different. Yeah, this is why I always tell people, if you want to try these techniques, think about painting a bust at some point. Think about painting a 75 millimeter model. It's a whole different ball game. You're still going to use the techniques that you've gotten used to, but there's so much more you can do too. There's so many other things you can try. So, my glaze is thickening up a little here, but I don't mind that. But you can see the fuzzed out look that we're getting here. That's more like what we want. We've got still a lot of very tight stripes there. I think I'm going to actually add another drop of water to my white. Oh, it's 11. Oh, is there a Big Sophie? I have not been up to date. What is this Big Sophie everybody is talking about? I have not watched Reaper Live. Is it a full standing Sophie or a bust Sophie or what? Oh, it's for the meet and greet. Full model. Ah, wow. Well, I'm going to have to poke Ron about getting me one of those. No, I think that, Pendrick, I think that's I think the idea that is like optimal is actually flawed, because when you don't need that kind of thing. You only need a brush like this. I mean, look at that. You don't need a splayed brush. Actually would be worse, because it wouldn't be the paint wouldn't flow along all those little tiny clumps of hair like it would here. I see. I see. I see. So I should get on and pre-order it. Where can I pre-order it, Quindy? Give me the information. Because you know what? We can paint that on this stream.
Give us the link. Give us the link. And then where do we go to pre-order it? Let's see here. I assume you have to buy a ticket, and then you buy a ticket for the meet and greet. It's under the con tickets section. Okay. Boom. Let's see here. Is it the merch? Buy merch. So I'm here. Click here for badges. Oh, you got it. Okay. Get merch. I see. The 75mm Sophie. Okay, I did see, yeah. I did see the, I did see the model. I didn't realize they were doing a big one. Okay, cool. Well, we could certainly paint that. What is it cast in? Do we know? Must be, with $30, it's not metal, so... No, I'm assuming you can just order it, Gibson. Oh, okay. She's 3D printed. Okay. Thanks, Pendrake. Thanks, Quindy. Okay, so you've got to pick it up in person. Got it. Got it. All right, well, I'll buy one of those. You know what we should do, Quindy? We should get one and we should send it to Luca. And we should put it in a box that says on the top with a sticky note, yet another dwarf for you to paint. Oh, come on. That would be funny. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Isn't it? Isn't it awesome? Yes, yes, I think this needs to happen. Oh, the papa would come in here and nose me and tell me it's time for the walk, but I've exiled her. But yes, I think it needs to happen. I think I'll contact some people at Reaper to see if I can sneak an extra one. Yes, yes. I think it would be great. It would be a great troll. And also a great present. I bet if I beg, I can get two. Then I just need to get Luca's address while I'm there and mail it. But yeah, I'll order one and then I'll contact John and who would be John or Justin? Who should I contact about making that happen while I'm at ReaperCon, Quindy?
Like, I feel like John has his hand on the pulse of production more. Ron will forget. But Justin usually mails stuff to Luca or gets somebody else. Yeah, Justin, okay. Yeah, I'll text him. I haven't texted Justin enough anyway lately. We used to talk all the time when I was there. Okay, so essentially, now we're starting to... I thinned my paint more. Now we're getting more of a little bit more of a fuzzed out look. So I'll just put one more level of glaze on that. I'll make it my mission. I feel like Luca needs a hug, and I can't hug him. He's in Spain, so I can give him a miniature hug. It'll be fun. But I would make them all sexy female dwarves if I buried in dwarves. But I'm just going to give him the model. I'm not going to put dwarves in there. He's got enough dwarves, let's face it. Yeah, Justin would have the one to have the address. So. Justin will always be down for trolling Luca with dwarves. Awesome. Yes, I'll text him. I'll order my copy when I get off the stream this afternoon. Actually, I'll put it on my to-do list. Order Big Sophie. To remind myself, because we all know Anne lives by her to-do list. There we go. On my list. It'll happen. Stretch. Oh, I know what else I can send him, and it's a dwarf. I can send him one of my Vitalas. Because Luca's my friend now. Only my friends get Vitalas. This model. You guys remember this model? I really need to, like, paint my version. Maybe I should paint it just to troll Ron, because he always wanted me to give it to him, and I refused. So this is my World of Warcraft character, by the way. So it's actually a WoW dwarf mini sculpted by Werner Klock. Nobody else can get it. It is only for me because Jennifer Haley, my buddy, called in her. She had a sculpting favor that Werner owed her, and so she asked him to use it to make my character for me, and she gave it to me as a present at a ReaperCon. It made me cry. And all of the painters, or most of the painters who were my friends, also painted a version for me. So yeah, so this model only exists in, like, there are less than 24 copies. I own the master and I own the mold. So I could spin more up, but I haven't had enough friends who warranted one yet. So yeah, this is all of the copies are masters also. And the only way to get one is for you to be my special friend. I think that Mr. Alpaca might be a good friend at this point. So yeah, just for Luca. A dwarf for him. It's a very special dwarf. But yeah, it's pretty, yeah, Jennifer was like I said, she totally made me cry at ReaperCon. Because she essentially did it in appreciation for all the work that I had put into ReaperCon at that point, which was considerable, though now I'm happily sitting back and letting other people do the work. At that point of the con, I was doing a lot of the work. So, and as we all know from our experiences in life, the organizers of stuff often are unsung heroes, and so I got sung. It's great. Yeah, and John Bono, who played WoW with me, was in my guild at that point, was the one who essentially snuck in, like, suggested we do a dungeon and then took secret screenshots of my character while we were doing the dungeon. So that he could send them to Jen to send to Werner so that Werner could sculpt my character. Pretty funny. Which is actually why I'm wearing really half-arsed gear in that. I'm wearing a little bit prophecy shoulder pads, probably a transcendence robe, or whatever the tier 2 robe was. I was just wearing my DPS outfit because I wasn't really healing that dungeon. I was just actually carrying a bunch of them through a dungeon because I was like raiding at that point and they had alts that needed the dungeon. It was a pain in the butt dungeon otherwise. There. So we're just like kind of working up to that. It's getting there, guys. It's getting there. Look at that. Getting us some leather. Starting to come up. I'm going to take it down a lot. But yeah, actually the Vitala, you'll see that model if you're on my Patreon. And when I put that PDF out this afternoon, I took a quick picture of it today. But the version that Jennifer painted for me is in that PDF. So yeah. Patreon, PDF is on color composition. And it'll be out. It's actually a really meaty PDF for a $2 tier PDF. I probably should have done it for $10 PDF, but I feel like everybody needs to like know about color composition, and so that's why I put it out as a 2-1. Maybe I'll do just a short video for $2 next time because they've been getting a lot of PDF love lately. Yes. So anyway, I think we'll call it there. It's about right time. Tomorrow for our Wednesday special. We are painting a sexy lady that, of course, Luca can't paint because he only has dwarves. But we are working on her. Talk about her skin tone. I was mostly blacking in blue, but yeah. I need to think about other colors on her, too. I might just go with the blue and white on her. It's been a long time since I did kind of a Templar color scheme. Yep. Yeah. Friends are great. So yeah, we're going to be painting Julie tomorrow. So come on over and hang out. And thanks for coming to the stream today, folks. It's still kind of dreary outside, but it's not raining. So I guess that Papa's going to get her walk in the wet. And thank you very much. And yeah, that's great. I hope you all had fun today. Remember, Gibson, no perfectionism. Kick perfectionism to the curb. I know you know. All right. Yep, good. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a good one.